Hello everybody, this is SeetherCord and welcome to another installment of my furry review/analysis series here on YouTube. Now for today's episode of this series, I'm going to be starting doing something new, and instead of looking at different forms of artwork that kind of people tend to make involving the furry community, today I'm actually going to be making videos involving both people that aren't necessarily involved with the furry community and more so making their own opinions about it, as well as talking about other people's YouTube videos in terms of talking about the community itself. Our first video we're going to be looking at today is called I Hate Furries by a YouTuber known as MrRepzion. Now, to give kind of a background check onto who this person is who made this video, this is by a YouTuber known as MrRepzion here on YouTube. He has over 523,000 total subscribers. I've been a fan of him and subscribed to him since back in the year of 2012, back when I remember he only had about 50 or so thousand. Now he has like 10 times as much as that. And I was mostly drawn into his videos back at the time because he made a lot of videos in terms of self-help, counseling that I really was interested in when I was younger, in my terms of like when I was just starting off high school. And his videos really helped me out through a lot. But then as time went on, I started to notice that his kind of outlooks and opinions really changed and started to, be more so in kind of a less understanding matter. And that's completely fine if you change your outlook on life and such. It's just the only thing is that he's made such a turn, I feel, so drastically in a lot of his viewpoints that it's really drawn a lot of myself, and I think even a lot of other people who watch his videos away from watching him. So that's kind of why his channel growth is now way slower than it originally was back a few years ago, back when I first started watching him. But his channel's doing decently well, I'd say. He gets around 2,000 subs a month, but not as much as he used to get, and he gets about at least 1 million plus views per month as well, so it's getting at least some decent form of income for him. Now that we got the background check of him as a whole with his YouTube career, we're going to be looking at his video called I Hate Furries. Now, this video came out around the beginning of 2016, back in January of last year. And this video is one of the few videos he made in terms of kind of giving off like a Leafy is here kind of vibe to it, with having gameplay footage and kind of reacting to videos in kind of a negative fashion, as well as talking about certain things. And this series as a whole kind of failed for him, and he quickly got away from that from what I remember. But we're going to be looking at one of the videos he made today involving the furry community called I Hate Furries, in all caps once again. So let's just get started with it, shall we?
Let's talk about furries. For those of you who don't know, a furry is someone who loves to dress up in an animal costume.
Okay, first of all, you got that wrong immediately out the back. Being a furry does not mean that you're somebody that dresses up in animal costumes. It simply means that you are a fan or you are interested in the concept of anthropomorphized animals. It kind of really does show that you did not really do any real form of research other than like some articles from people probably that were outside of the furry community, instead of actually looking into people who were in the furry community to give their perspective on it.
And in this animal costume, they are fully from head to toe in a wolf, a lion, a cat, a dog, many different types of animals. And they go around and they hold signs and they make squeaky noises and they don't talk.
Okay, when it comes to those three things involving holding signs, making squeaky noises, and don't talk, out of the furries I've seen in person and through videos that I've seen, I don't see them doing most of a few of those things you mentioned. Like, I see some of the squeaking, but in terms of not talking, I hear some of them who talk kind of well. It just comes down to, I guess, the suitor themselves as a whole. But I would not really say that applies to every single fursuiter out there.
That's one of the biggest key things, is they don't talk. Having been to many conventions in my lifetime and having done cosplay before, I have felt very uncomfortable among many furries because they like to come up to random people and hug them. And then when you try to speak to them, they do nothing besides make little and make little squeaky sounds, which honestly really makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't think I've ever been hugged by a furry and not feel uncomfortable, simply because, well, one, they're masked, and two, they don't talk. I don't really mind people being masked, but if they have no interaction and no social skills to actually be able to talk like a normal human being, and rather they're so convoluted into their identity as a furry, a dog, or whatever they want to be, then that just kind of makes me feel uncomfortable.
Now, I will agree with you that some furries can do that, where they hug people without their consent, and that's something that's on their fault, and they should completely understand people's boundaries and all. But I would say that if they do all those things and mannerisms that make you personally uncomfortable, then I don't think you should be involved, and you should actually, go and do your business elsewhere within the convention grounds, and not basically say, you're sounding a little bit as if it's pandering towards you or so like that. Like, it has to revolve around you personally. But I could be wrong on that.
But one of the biggest issues that I have with furries is not the sexualization of it.
Again, let me clear out of the way that furries are not necessarily all about sexualization. It comes down to, honestly, if you ask me, I don't think most furries really sexualize the community. Like, yeah, online in terms of like fur affinity and DeviantArt, there is a lot of that, but that doesn't necessarily mean every single furry is into that stuff in a sexual manner. Everyone has their own personal, unique ways of doing it. In my personal opinion, I think that most furries are not into it strictly for the sexual aspect of it. And I feel that even if there's quite a few people that are into it, it's not necessarily their whole reason for being into it. There's also like their reasons of being into it for artistic reasons, emotional reasons, etc., etc.
The same goes for like bronies. You know, I find it really disgusting that people sexualize like furry. There's furry porn, there's brony porn, My Little Pony porn, and stuff like that. But it's not even so much as the sexualization part, because people can have their kinky fetishes and they want to fap off to hentai-sized titties of cartoons and fucking ponies with dicks and penises.
Now, I do appreciate you acknowledging, like, yeah, you can be into whatever kink you want as long as it's not harming anyone or anything in the process, and that's completely fine. I understand and I appreciate you acknowledging that in that sense.
But what I do have a problem with the brony community and the furry community, and this is primarily about furries, but this can also apply to many other different types of fandoms in general, is people who have to literally flaunt that they're this, or flaunt that they're that. When it comes to one's actual sexuality, if you're gay, straight, bisexual, I can understand that because that is part of who you are. But no matter what you say, I will not believe that you are a fucking dragon. I will not believe that you are a fucking dog, and I will not believe that you are a fucking cat. No matter how deeply rooted your identity is in those fucking characters that you are so obsessed with, I will not acknowledge that that is what you are.
Now, I literally covered this in my last video with Otherkin. You are mixing up the furry community with the Otherkin community. They're two separate things. Just because a furry identifies as thinking they're a dragon or a wolf or a dog or something like that, that doesn't mean it's part of them being a furry. That's part of being with the Otherkin community. I will say the majority of furries, out of the ones that I've known, do not necessarily believe that they're actually a dog. It's more so just for a character-based thing. I really get frustrated when a lot of people can mix up the furry community and the Otherkin community, while the furry community is like this simple, kind of more artistic styled community, while the Otherkin community is more of a religious kind of belief system, kind of spirituality kind of fandom, which are two completely polar opposite things at the end of the day.
And if that's me telling them that I find and I fucking hate furries, then so be it. They're putting themselves out there on a platform to be judged when they flaunt themselves as a furry. And they need to come to the realization of that. Because if they don't, well, you're going to find assholes like me who's going to speak out about why I don't like them.
And that pretty much wraps up the video I Hate Furries by MrRepzion. I would personally say that I agree with him in terms of furries that flaunt the fact that they're being a furry to the point where it can frustrate and annoy a lot of people. I definitely agree with him on that sense. And putting out your sexuality or fetishes can really get people frustrated as well. And I like how he's not just applying that just for the furry fandom to single it out, but also to many other fandoms that do this, be it, weeaboos or bronies, etc. But however, what I dislike about this video is how he had a lack of research in terms of what actually being a furry is and what certain aspects he got wrong about it, and how I feel like he was biased in a sense because he went more so off of his own personal emotions he's had with the experience of furries and not going off of their opinions from the furries themselves, because it really does not seem as if he really went and asked these furries about, hey, why you do this and such. But that does not mean I have less value for what he does stand on the things I do agree with him. I do think that MrRepzion is an intelligent guy and that you definitely should subscribe to him if you enjoy his kind of content and you agree with a lot of his opinions. I think he's still, a guy that has a lot of good moral value in his videos and has a lot to teach people in his videos. So I will leave a link in the description to his channel. You can definitely subscribe to him if you like his content. And I don't want you to necessarily think that this one video summarizes him as a whole, because he was kind of going through a phase while he was making this video. So that pretty much wraps up this video of furry review/analysis for today. I do want to apologize if I was sounding more so hostile towards Daniel this whole video. I still enjoy his videos from time to time, but not as much as I used to, because his content is definitely way different than it is these days. But I do feel like you guys can still definitely get some enjoyment out of some of his videos. It's just this one video has a lot less amount of research than he's usually known for having in his videos. So that pretty much wraps up this video for today. If you enjoy MrRepzion's content, please consider subscribing to his channel. There will be a link to his channel in the description down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button as well as subscribing if you have not already, to further help me out as well. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been SeetherCord, and I will see you guys next time. So, goodbye everyone.